Hello BookTube and welcome to the continuation of my 2020 library tour. This is part 2 of science fiction and fantasy. So let's get started. Okay. Well, that works. So first up is Consider Phlebis by Ian Banks. This is the first culture novel, which is a post-scarcity anarcho-Marxist utopia. And in this novel, the culture is at war with an alien species called the Adherents, and the culture are losing badly. And the novel itself is a quest to find a missing culture mind, these hyper-intelligent computers who effectively run the culture. And it's told from an agent of the Adherents and his quest to find the mind, which is located on a planet of the dead. Next is Geese of the Gargoyle by Piers Anthony. Picked it up from the Friends of the Library Sell Nook. Next is A Sundiver by David Brin. And then we have The Player of Games by Ian Banks. This is another culture novel. In this case, the protagonist Gerge is tasked with traveling to this enemy empire called Azad, and he basically has to learn to play this sort of super involved game that sort of determines everything about Azad, its government, and its culture. Next up, we have two books by Jen Lyons. The Ruin of Kings, the first book in the Chorus of Dragons series. Quite liked it when I read it last year, and I will be returning to it in sometime early next year when the final volume comes out. I'm planning on reading the whole series in a monthly installment. Book Overboard. Next is The Name of All Things by Jen Lyons. This is the second book in the Chorus of Dragons series. Next is Winter of Ice and Iron by Rachel Neumeyer. And then I have The Vagrant by Peter Newman. This is the first part of the Vagrant trilogy. It's about a man with no name who has basically taken a child to a safe place in a world overrun by demons. This is the second book in the Vagrant trilogy, The Malice, and this is again by Peter Newman. This one shifts the protagonist role to the baby and her quest to take something somewhere, I think. It's been a while since I read it, and I really need to come back to it at some point. Next is a bind-up of His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman in a very sort of beat-up edition. Picked this up from Golden's Book Exchange quite a few years ago. Next is The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu, book 2 of the Dandelion Dynasty. The third book should be coming out sometime around my birthday next year. And I've already pre-ordered it. Then we have the beginning of a new trilogy by Peter Newman, The Deathless. Picked this up from Book Depository, like one of my first Book Depository orders. And this is the concluding volume in the Vagrant trilogy, The Seven, by Peter Newman. And this is The Beastmaster by Andre Norton, which has very little, if nothing, in common with the 1982 film The Beastmaster, starring Mark Singer. I think I picked this up from the Friends of the Library Booksell Nook. Or actually maybe from the Friends of the Library Booksell itself. Then we have Knights of the Gemmer by Mark Sharon Newton. I picked this up from Alibris, and it originally came from South Shore Public Libraries. And then I have The Ringworld Engineers by Larry Niven. Starborn by Andre Norton. And finally, The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This is the first book in the Dandelion Dynasty series. And essentially, this book is sort of a fantasy version of the fall of the Qin Empire, the first Chinese dynasty, or what we think of, though. Yeah. I mean, there was Shang and I'm blanking on the second, like the proto-dynasties. But anyway, this is basically the transition from Qin to Han. And it's really good. It's been a few years since I've read it, and I'm looking forward to reading it again with the prospect of the final volume coming out. I think it's the final volume coming out and sometime in November. But anyway, BookTube, that was part 2 of Science Fiction and Fantasy. I will be back tomorrow with part 3 and part 4, because I'm pretty much going to have to double these up, and possibly even, I think, on December 31st, I may even have 3 of these up. So no, BookTube. Until tomorrow, thank you. Have a great day and afternoon, and I will see you tomorrow. And stay safe. Thank you, BookTube.